Hi there. Let's do a paint chip tumbler. I originally base painted this with this glitter in mind, but I have so many girly cups. I really need to build up my inventory for a craft show coming up of manlier / more generic. Not manly. That's the wrong wording. Less sparkly. That's a better word. So I'm going to use this. This is from Dandelion Meadows Designs, the Jet. You can get paint chips at your hardware store and just break it up. You might be more limited on colors, but that's what that is. I didn't care to go through that mess, and so I just bought a couple of different colors from a couple different vendors. I'm going to experiment with this epoxy. I got these guys, or this from the guys at TumblerCon. It's the epoxyresinstore.com. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, just their regular tumbler epoxy. I'm going to give it a go. See how it spreads, see how it mixes. So this is a tumbler making / product test in one. But this is a little free sample that they gave out. I don't know, was that last month? 6 weeks ago? Something like that. It mixed really nicely. You can see the bubbles rising pretty easily and self-gassing pretty easily. I'm gonna let it sit for just a minute before putting it on the tumbler. Just for good measure. This thermometer was attached to my arm. It's 87 in here. So I mixed it at 87 degrees in here. And those are popping pretty easily. Let that sit for just a minute to kind of get some of that off of there, and then we're going to put this nice and thick. Not dripping off thick, but a little bit more than when we do chunky glitters. You know how I like to do double the epoxy. Usually if you're doing epoxy method on glitter, I spilled glitter on my counter, so now I have peacock everywhere. Normally I like, if you're doing glitter with epoxy method, you go super thin, like barely there. Don't even need to turn it kind of thin. But I like to go about double that amount. So about 2.5 would do, 2 to 2.5 would do this on epoxy method fine glitter. I would probably do closer to 5 on chunky. So I'm going to go closer to 5, maybe even a little bit more, maybe closer to 10. We'll see once it's on there. Of this, I've got 20 mixed up, so whatever doesn't go on here, I'm going to make some earrings. Pretty much has 10. I can't really show you in here. You can kind of see it right there. It looks like it's on 15. It's actually closer to the 10. So now let's put our flakes on there. Normally I transfer my glitters into shakers because I just really like that, but I'm running out of room, and so I'm leaving a lot of stuff in shakers now. I mean in the bags now. So I'm just gonna carefully do that so that hopefully it'll lay down pretty good. In a little while I'll come back and I'll pat those crazy ones down. But I'm not super stressing about any spots that might be showing through by the time I'm done with this, because I've got it that khaki color that should go with this pretty easily. I've only done a pen with paint chips. I've not ever done a tumbler. I think most of y'all know when I'm doing a video, it's usually my first or second time, and I usually try and record where I screwed up so that I can figure out how to fix it. This is one of those cases. Alright, I'm gonna keep doing that. Hopefully it won't turn out too chunky. This is weirdly so much harder than glittering a cup. Maybe it's the bag, maybe it's the just them being such big chunks, but I feel like I have coated this thing twice. I haven't, but that's what it felt like. It just seemed like it was so hard to get all those spots. Don't forget your bottom. So what I'm going to do is let this just kind of sit and rotate for a good hour. And then I'll come out here and I'll do the parchment paper method of patting all this down. I'll do a few of the wild ones with my glove before I walk away, but in general, most of that will lay down better with the parchment paper. All right, put that back on there. It looks a mess right now. It's possible that it's got a lot of bald spots because I put too much epoxy on here and it's kind of separating and sliding. That is entirely possible. But lessons were learned. Plus, like I said, the bottom, it's a good color to go with this. This is brown, dark gray, light gray, and white. I do have a couple of different color combos, but I had nothing this kind of deserty camo color that I had done in the past, or any of my other cups done that are anywhere close to this color combo. It's been about 50 minutes. So before I start, I just realized I forgot to come back and do something with the other half of that. Boy, anyways, before I start crunching on this, I'm gonna put the rest of my good glitter / paint flakes, in the bag. And now let's grab parchment paper. All right, a couple different ways you can do this. Some people will just roll with it, kind of flatten it like that. Some people will do it while it's still on there and just kind of hug it with their hands, essentially. Corners are always the trickiest on something so rigid like this. Okay, so it did make some bald spots. So what I'll do is just kind of go over it. I'll just kind of sprinkle over it. I should have a glove on, but I'm about to wash my hands, so don't come at me, y'all. So what I'm going to do is just kind of sprinkle over this, kind of fill in the gaps. And then I'll come back out and pat it a little bit more. Kind of get rid of some of those bigger chunks. But overall, you can see the difference in the spikiness. That will make a huge difference in how many layers of epoxy it's going to take to do what you need to do. Actually, what I might do is just throw my glove on, get this epoxy off my fingers that I just got here and just now, and kind of take my gloved finger and kind of shift that stuff around. There's plenty of stuff on there. Let's do that instead. All right, that's pretty good. I just used my little finger caught here. I think I underestimated how quickly this epoxy might cure, because I thought, oh, I've got a weird bald spot right there, something I did wrong. Either I didn't make sure it was on there properly or whatever. I dipped my finger in here. You can't even tell. Look how hard this is. It's like jelly already. It's crazy. This has been, I set my timer it was like 50 minutes. Oh, like there was still 10 minutes left whenever I started recording. So 50 minutes and it has set up that hard. They're not rock hard, but that kind of gives me an idea of kind of how much I need to turn my cups. So anyways, so I'm gonna let this turn. It is not perfect, but because of the color that I base painted it, I am not worried about it at all. Just a couple little spots here that I'll probably spray, sorry, with that, and just kind of sprinkle a tiny little piece on there. We'll see. We'll see what it looks like by the time it's all said and done. So I'm going to come back to this probably tomorrow morning and clear coat it, and then I will come back and epoxy it tomorrow night. And we'll use that same epoxy just to kind of get it. Oh my goodness, look, it's like stuck to the shape stayed. So I guess that gives you an idea of how quickly it sets up. It's not hot though, so whatever chemical exchange there was is already come and gone as far as like it heating up like a lot of resins do. Anyways, we'll be back. We are ready for epoxy. I already have this clear coated with just Rust-Oleum. That's typically my go-to. I think in my last video I said Krylon. That's not my go-to. I like Rust-Oleum for whatever reason. It seems to work better for me. There are still a few spots that are kind of on the chunky side, but I think a couple of layers of epoxy should remedy that. Worst case, we'll do a couple layers of epoxy, sand it down, and do it again. So here we go. I've got 20 milliliters of the same that we used for the base. Part of this motion here is kind of working out some of those bubbles. That's a trick I learned on one of the videos on the NOLA's page. I think that's what they suggest for the speed dry. It may not be quite as lumpy as I thought it was going to be. It doesn't feel like it anyways. I'm going to finish doing this, let it cure, do another, mostly cure. I'll do another coat late tonight and then let it cure completely, sand it, top coat. We should be done. I have 2 coats of epoxy on here. I've sanded it pretty smooth. There's just a few little lumps here and there, but those will disappear on the next coat of epoxy. I've got a nice smooth spot right here. I'm going to put this just kind of generic decal on. I don't normally show this part of the process, but I've decided I kind of need to get better at doing that. So here is my placement here. Make sure it's decently straight. Luckily with this design, it's not that dependent on any kind of horizontal alignment. This is an image I got off of Etsy. It's really nice. They've got some good images in their shop. Whoopsie. Come on. That one's being stubborn. Okay. It's going to look so good once it's shined up again. I wanted something generic. I almost put something like Veteran or Proud to Serve or something like that. I was like, you know what? Not everybody wants that, but that's nice and universal. Oop, I missed a piece. Get that out of there. Let's get this under epoxy. Here we go. Maybe one more thin layer of epoxy before it's all said and done, but it might be just fine like it is. I really like how that turned out. Just kind of generic. It's nice to have a selection of non-glittery. Oh, totally just dropped what I was about to show y'all. It's nice to have a little bit of non-glittery options for the craft shows I have coming up. Some guys like glitter. Some women don't like glitter. I mean, there's no rules. Just whatever rocks everybody's boat. So that's that. Like I said, that's the epoxy that I got as a free sample at TumblerCon in July. It's been over a month now, but finally got to try it. I do want to say one thing. Last night when I was doing my final coat of epoxy on that, I also used the leftover for this. It's like a cigarette. What is wrong with me? It's a cigarette lighter. I just want to show y'all how hard this is. You could hear how hard it is and see how it bounced, but I'm squeezing really hard and it's rock hard, man. That's pretty good. I didn't pour any earrings or anything with it. I just poured the leftover in here and then had to mix just a little bit more. My mold is messed up, but it's hard, man. That's pretty good for just over, like, maybe right at 14 hours. Pretty good. Anyways, I'll put the link to the SVG that I got off of Etsy. I'll put that in the description just because some people like to have access to that. I'll put the link to the glitter also in there, which I have put that somewhere out of reach right this minute, but I will put the link to that. Here we go. Dandelion Designs. I'll put the link to the cups. I'll put the website for the epoxy. I don't know if they have any discount codes or not, but so far I like it. I've actually already coated another tumbler over here to my left. Peekaboo. With it as well. It responds well to alcohol, which I like. Not all epoxies respond well to alcohol spritz to pop bubbles. So anyways, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave it in the comments. And thanks for watching. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thanks and have a good one.